welcome back to the Streak Easy, our new spin-off of the Geek Easy Podcast. It's not so new anymore. We're nearing the end of it. But we've been on a journey of watching
our almost dead episode. Minisodes.
Almost wrapped.
Almost wrapped. Yeah, they'll live forever in infamy on the internet.
That's right.
They'll be infamous.
Well, we have been on a journey of rewatching all of the Undertaker's Wrestle Mania matches during the infamous undefeated streak. I am Pixel Dan Erdley.
Jonathan Leonard.
And Jaron McCaffrey.
What's going on, fellas?
How you feeling?
I am feeling well.
Good.
Weird for you to ask. No, I am recovering from the flu, but it's been a bad time of year, I think, for everybody. I've seen so many people getting sick. But it's WrestleMania season, like full force, man. Like, we are weeks away from the show. It's getting really exciting. And I've been having a lot of fun watching these matches.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And this is the episode.
This is the episode.
This is the episode that we made this series for.
Oh, my God. I can't wait until we talk about something. And this is going to be one of those things, like, I don't really have structured notes, but I'm going to be like, just marking out about crazy things that happen throughout these matches.
My fear specifically with the last two matches are going to be that it all is going to run together in my head. I'll be like, remember when they did that? Like, that was the other match. Oh, yeah.
I know.
Great.
It's going to be hard to distinguish those two. But, yes, today we are going to be taking a look at 4 different matches from The Undertaker's WrestleMania career, starting in 2007, right?
Yeah.
At WrestleMania 23 when he fought Drax the Destroyer.
That's right, versus Drax the Destroyer. And then we're going to move on to WrestleMania from 2008 against Edge for the championship.
Yep.
Both of those first ones are for the championship.
Both of them for the championship.
Which is awesome. And then we're going to go into his doubleheader against Shawn Michaels, which is going to be amazing. 2 years in a row against Shawn Michaels. So good stuff there.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and kick it off with 2007 then against Drax the Destroyer.
Set us up.
All right, so The Undertaker versus Batista. This was the year that The Undertaker won the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, and in that amazing Rumble against Shawn Michaels.
Yep, that was a good last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was the first time that The Undertaker had won the Royal Rumble. When he wrestled Sid for the championship and main evented Mania the first time. He did not. That was not for a Rumble win, or that was not on the heels of a Rumble win.
Right. Right.
Yeah, there was a lot of other stuff going on, and I don't think that was when it was really. I don't think it was really set in stone still at that point that like the winner of the Rumble gets the championship match at Mania. You know that still had.
Yeah, I don't remember when that came the Die Hard rule, but it feels like it was later on than that.
Yeah,
that's one of those things that we always like consider to be like that's the concrete rule of Royal Rumble, but that still is a little more recent.
Pretty new.
Yeah,
and not even. You know, because so at 14 was 98. So Austin, that was the year Austin won.
Now you say it's pretty new. We're talking about it happening in a match 12 years ago.
But
as far
as eras go, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think we've still had years in recent years where it hasn't been for number one.
Well, I mean, it might get.
Right?
I think it always is for. There's been times it's gotten undone through booking.
Even by 99 was the year McMahon won, and McMahon did not go. So they had to pull it there.
Yeah.
Then in 2000 it was for it, but that was the year The Rock won. But then the Big Show contested it.
Oh,
and
that's
it
right.
ended up in a 4-way
Fatal
for the main
4-way.
event.
Yeah.
So I mean, really,
McMahon in every corner.
Yeah, so McMahon in every corner. Yeah.
So I mean, really, it wasn't until. So I mean, I guess it would have been 19. No, not 19. For 2001 when it kind of became like the actual concrete rule, and they played it out every year.
All right.
So we're at this year where Batista has won and has taken. They did some fun stuff. If you remember at the time, this was when the WWE had split brands between Raw, SmackDown, but also ECW.
Yeah.
So we did some fun stuff leading up to it where Undertaker showed up on Raw and SmackDown and ECW, playing some mind games with the champion.
Yeah, because we didn't know which one he was going to go for.
Yep, until he chose Batista.
Yeah.
Batista was riding pretty high at this point. Batista, he was at his most Batista.
Yeah,
he was
at his most Batista.
Yeah, he was big, and I mean he was pretty jacked here, and you could see it.
I like Batista. I've always liked Batista. Batista does not fit my usual mold for guys I like.
Yeah.
Batista seems like he could easily be one of those guys who just shows up, half does the work, looks really good as far as like the Vince McMahon picture goes, and goes about his way. And even though I always remember how much I like him, I forget how good he is sometimes until I'm watching some of his stuff.
Yeah. He really found his niche.
Yeah.
You could definitely pick his in-ring work apart.
Yeah.
But he knew exactly what to do and how to do it. He was a picture perfect example of like finding what works and making the most out of it.
Which is most of wrestling, Like I said, I'm not making the argument he's on like a Bret Hart caliber by any means as far as in-ring goes, but he's like you said, he's one of those guys who like he knows what he does.
Yep.
He does it well when he goes out there. And he's not just he's got all the personality and mic skills and all that stuff you need to carry that through.
Yeah.
And
well, you could make the argument that that's what anybody does. I mean, Bret Hart was never king of the microphone, and they didn't act like he was.
Yeah.
He was king of the, he was, nearly unparalleled on his in-ring work, and that's what they focused on for him, so.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying, though. Like, that's the way you rise to the top is by finding what you're good at and making it work to the situation.
And I was agreeing with you. All right, so this is also the era that we're in here. I've always considered this like the victory dance era. The Monday Night Wars were over. WWE had bought WCW. They owned the competition, but the business had not exactly turned down yet.
Yeah.
So, like, it was still super hot. The WrestleManias were bigger than they've ever been. And, this was hot off the heels of them doing, like, remember the videos they would do, like the My Sacrifice video? It just felt like this whole era was like a celebration. There's like 3-4 years in here where it just felt like we won. Yeah, we won. Now look how awesome we are.
Yeah, totally.
And I totally felt that. This WrestleMania felt huge, even just in their entrances.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. The entrances were awesome here. And before we get into the match itself, I also want to talk about with as far as Taker is concerned. I think we spoke a little bit about this in several episodes leading up to it, but like I think starting here and especially going forward with everything we're talking about today, this is like Undertaker experiencing this almost like second coming as far as like his career goes, like because he was already starting to feel like, oh, maybe he's going to retire soon. Maybe he's going to retire soon. And then, we go into this WrestleMania, which we know what happens. He wins this title, and he goes on with like a new world championship reign for a while.
Right.
This happens a couple times throughout the next few years.
Yep.
Then he has those two arguably best matches he's ever had at a WrestleMania, which also is like all-time greats for WrestleMania. I mean, like, this is Undertaker, like, gearing his career up to, like, this whole second new era of just incredible stuff. It's really cool to see it, like, being, like, reborn like this. Yeah, so these entrances, like Batista comes out and does like the crazy walking all over the stage thing, doing the pose everywhere,
having to jog back and forth the width of a football field here.
Yeah. But it's not until he finally comes all the way down to like the ramp where they start finally doing fireworks and stuff. Because like at first I'm like, oh, look at him, he's really soaking it in. Okay, he's still soaking it in. This is taking a little bit here, and nothing's really happening, and you can even kind of feel the crowd like, But then when the pyro finally goes off, it feels a little special again. Taker gets his druids again. They come out druids. They come out at first, and because they were really playing up the whole Batista keeps saying he's not intimidated, and then the druids come out and they keep showing Dave's face, and he's going. He's like just like staring at all the druids like what the hell's going on? Which is great. I love it. But I really like, because this is and hopefully I'm remembering this right, but this is the special entrance too, where it like looks like just like that little door opens and like you just see Undertaker just standing there with the light behind him, so it's just a silhouette of the coat and the hat. It's so awesome looking. It is so freaking cool. And then he just like walks slowly forward with the light behind him. I liked that. I thought that was a really cool entrance.
Yeah. So one more thing we should talk about before their match before we talk about the match.
Okay.
The feelings going into this match, I don't know if you guys remember, but Batista and Taker were both mad that they were not the main event.
Oh, I didn't know
okay.
that.
Nope.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because
This was like real early in the show too. I noticed that when I was scanning through.
yeah, it was about midway.
Midway through the card.
Yeah, it was
What was the main event on that one?
The main event was Shawn Michaels and Cena.
Okay.
And Shawn Michaels, Undertaker had won the main event, or had won the Royal Rumble, which is for the main event at Wrestle Mania.
Yeah.
And they both expected to be the main event, and I believe did not find out they were not the main event until they got there that day.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
And saw the run sheet.
Yeah.
So reportedly they were both upset. So that's the attitude that these guys are going into this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So-
That sucks.
Yeah.
Yep.
At least that's not beef with each other. They're both just motivated now.
Oh yeah,
that's true.
Yeah. Well, I remember the story going something like, and I don't remember where I heard this, but one of those things where it's like, Taker's kind of like, oh, we're not the main event. I will see about that.
All right. Yeah, that's good. I noticed here that they are really going hard on the streak.
Yeah,
Really going hard on the streak as far as terminology goes. And I know we've talked about that as this whole thing has gone along too, like when it became an actual thing. It is full blown in this match for sure.
Yeah.
Because 11,000 times in this match, anytime Batista does anything, Michael Cole screams, "The streak is over! The streak is over! The streak is over!" I got so sick of it, dude.
Michael Cole still wasn't very good.
Man. But you know what? He does it in all these matches, man. I notice it throughout all of these matches because I watched them back to back. But this one specifically, Dave would do any little thing, and Michael Cole would be screaming about the streak being over.
Well, it almost feels like he was taking a lot from the Vince McMahon commentary playbook.
Yeah.
Because Vince was always like that. Everything was like, "That's God, it's over. 1, 2, oh my, he kicked out."
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it feels like he's hanging real heavy on that. I noticed JBL
Probably had Vince in his headset.
probably. I noticed JBL going back to he like 3 or 4 times he said something about the Undertaker wears scars like badges of honor. I was just like, you said that like this is the 4th time I've heard that exact line.
JBL, it's a neck tattoo.
Yeah.
I don't think he's happy about it.
I noticed, I'm just throwing out random things now about the match.
Nope.
So there were a few times I noticed where like some of his Undertaker's signature stuff got weirdly, and I don't even want to say botched is the right word, but like they landed strange. At one point he went for the big giant clothesline that he always does, and it felt like Dave didn't know what that was. Because Taker goes up for it and Dave's like right underneath him. So Taker like falls real awkwardly on top of him and falls over like sideways.
Maybe that was Dave in the position. And
Yeah.
when I looked at that, I just went, why didn't he throw the clothesline?
No,
'Cause
Dave's-
it looked like he just cannonballed him.
Yes,
But I guess maybe
yes.
it was
I
the
think
positioning,
I think Dave's positioning was off and Taker was already in the air and it was just like, well.
Yeah.
So he kind of came down real weird on him and rolled over and did that thing where like he turned right into the camera that was right there and you could see him kind of mouthing like he was upset about the mistake. And it's like, well. And then they also did he did the guillotine leg drop at one point on the apron.
And just like full on sat on his face.
And just sat on his face, and his legs got like tangled around him, and so like he couldn't get off of him without just dragging him off the apron onto the ground below. It was amazing. Like Dave looked like a slow falling sack of potatoes. He was just like,
Yeah.
It was awesome.
That one too. Yep. Well, you could really see these guys pushing the pace.
Yeah.
Both these guys were working at a faster pace than they ever work. And I think they were doing some things that were kind of outside their norm. I don't want to say comfort zone, but outside their normal parameters. And I think that's probably because they were trying to steal the show.
Yeah.
For sure.
Right. Absolutely. This is where I'm going to start blurring things together because we saw it a couple times, but there was definitely a moment where Taker went to the top rope and jumped off, and Michael Cole freaked out. I've never seen Undertaker go off the top rope before.
I know Batista for sure did.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, the champ, go to the top.
Yes.
Coming right off. I've never seen that
Yep.
before. And it was
Totally.
just like, it was just like a missile shoulder tackle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, that's definitely one of the ones.
Yeah.
I might be mixing them up because we
Yeah.
did see Taker do some top rope stuff too, but that was later.
Yeah.
So Dave did do that, and Michael Cole freaked out like it was just
Yeah.
like the most insane thing he had ever seen, and it was just like a shoulder tackle or something. It was awesome.
Taker hit his dive over the top,
Yeah.
and they acted like they've never seen that before.
Yeah.
Even though he's done it at
Yeah.
every WrestleMania. Oh, the Phenom! Can you believe it? 300 pounds, 7 feet.
The commentary
Can we just talk
in
about
this
all
match
four
is
matches
amazing.
at once? Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I know, right? The commentary in this
Man,
match.
I want to talk about that dive.
Oh, we're getting there. Don't worry. We're getting there. Wow. I don't know. Is there anything else specific that we need to bring up for this one? Do you have any other notes?
About this match, nothing specific.
Yeah.
Just that I have some things about the overall match.
Okay.
So I would say, first of all, this would be Taker's greatest match if Shawn Michaels wasn't a thing.
Oh, okay.
Right?
All right.
I don't think anybody else brought this level out of the Undertaker or stepped up to this level with the Undertaker like Batista did.
Cool.
I think this match. I would personally, I would still prefer his match with Diesel from a stylistic standpoint, I guess. But I think this is probably a better match. Certainly a more modern match. Worked with some false finishes and a bunch of creative high spots.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, this is one of those matches that I almost wish it was like the last one from last episode instead of the first one of this episode, because it really gets overshadowed because of its placement of when we watched them.
Yeah.
But it is definitely super solid.
For sure. And I don't think, I think it's just, man, it's a real tough spot to be in, because this is hands down the second best match on this show.
Yeah.
And they went out there to steal, and nobody could have followed this match except for Shawn Michaels and John Cena.
Except for Shawn Michaels.
And probably I could just say except for Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
But John Cena's great in that match. If you go watch the main event of this WrestleMania, it's probably top 10. But
Yeah.
in Mania terms, that's saying something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I thought it was a super, super solid match. Really fun. The crowd was hot.
Oh, yeah.
So hot. So into this match. Both guys look
They
great.
were so hot right now.
They're so hot right now. Taker looked great too. He's in such good shape here.
Yeah.
And just
When he got to the ring and kind of like, I think he lost the coat but still had the hat on and was just kind of standing there, and Dave was just sitting there staring at him, like there's that moment there where I was like, oh, I'm getting chills.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
No, he looked great, I thought. And I also know, like, he was in the tights, too.
Yeah.
Like, we had talked about before how he kind of stayed in the pants after the...
Right.
But I totally forgot that he did go back to the tights for a
Yeah.
little era here. He's, like, in full-on tights, singlet, everything. He does have the big MMA gloves.
Yep. He never loses those.
He never loses those. But yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, I think this is probably, through this whole era, like this whole episode, the most complete package the Undertaker's presented.
Yeah.
He's got the gimmick working, his ring work, his conditioning, his physique, all of it better than it's ever been. We talked about around the Sid era. When he faced Sid and Diesel, that was his best look, our favorite look.
Yeah.
And I still think that, but his look, he was riding a lot on his look at that point.
That's true. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
His look and the gimmick overshadowed most of the rest of everything else he did. Here, it's not. It's just part of the whole package. I think this is the most complete Undertaker we've seen so far.
I will agree with that. Absolutely, I will agree with that. Especially after watching all these matches. Man. All right, let's go ahead and move into the next one then.
All right.
So now we're facing Edge for the same championship a year later.
Yep.
So Edge had won the belt at some point.
Yep.
By this
This was when Edge stole the Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank.
He stole the Money in the Bank from maybe CM Punk. No, King Kennedy. King
Okay.
Kennedy had won Money in the Bank, and Edge took it from him. I think Kennedy was injured, so they slid it over to Edge, and then Edge used that to steal it from the Undertaker.
Oh, okay, all right.
They kept talking about how like Edge had done something, and Undertaker had been waiting for a whole year to get his hands on him. And they brought up a few points that, like, I mean, I didn't go back and research them all, but it was one of those like real slow builds. It sounded like up to a Mania match, and it was pseudo build as like a streak versus streak almost, because Edge had never.
Yeah.
Except, like, didn't he lose him? Like, wasn't he in a Money in the Bank or something like that?
But he won. He had won at every WrestleMania, but we're talking like 6, not 50.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, okay. So he even won that one then.
Yeah,
streak versus streak.
I saw something really weird, and I think it might have been on the Wikipedia about how, and I thought it was a quote from Edge, saying that this was originally going to be billed as a streak versus streak, but then he was in a Money in the Bank that he didn't win. But then when I went and watched the match, and they kept talking about it being streak versus streak, so I got bad information from the internet, and I didn't follow up on it. My apologies.
I may be wrong, but I may be wrong about that, but I don't think so.
Well,
I think he was only in the one Money in the Bank, and it was the one he won.
They definitely talked about it like he had never lost.
Yeah.
So they were fine with it, clearly. You know, either way.
Yeah.
I like the little video package thing when they, you know, like the it starts with the Undertaker stuff, and then it goes into the Edge stuff, and it's playing almost like a radio dial, like changing like two Edge's music, and it starts flashing like 15 and 1 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think it was pretty cool package.
Yeah, totally. I liked that too. It was interesting because they sent Taker out first in this one. Mm-hmm. Usually they send Taker out second just because of the theatrics.
Even if he's not the champ.
Yeah, like in the last match
Champion's prerogative.
Right. So he came out first, and then Edge came out, and they wheeled Vicky out in the wheelchair.
And I had forgotten about I didn't forget about the Vicky stuff, but I didn't place it together with this era at all.
Yeah.
Because she started wheeling out, I'm like, what is that? Oh yeah. Because even when she was in the video package, I couldn't tell who it was. Like Taker tombstoned her or something like that, like to get her that way. But even then, I was like, who was that? You know?
Yeah.
Man, and she was super hot.
Man, yeah.
I mean, she had heat. She had super heat.
Yeah.
I saw her live one time. You could not hear her. You could not hear her entire promo because the crowd hated her so they were so loud and booed her nonstop.
It was amazing.
I mean, it was a 20-minute segment.
Yeah. Oh, dude,
that you could not hear any of because
Eddie was smiling at her whole run.
Yeah,
no doubt.
All right, where are we starting here?
Well, I want to start with like how 2000s was Edge. Like some people just embody a decade. I mean, the only way he could have been more 2000s was if he had used Creed as his entrance music instead of just a band that sounded like Creed.
On this day. Yeah, well, didn't they have some kind of connection with Creed? Because that was Alter Bridge, right?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah. So that was just watching him come down. Like he had those long tights that were like, I don't even know what like brick, and I don't know, they were just so like motley, you know what I mean? And he had that hair that was like long but not long, like not quite a soccer mom haircut, just like man.
Long but not long.
Well, it was
the
a
last
2000s.
The last time we saw
the leather trench coat, man.
Yeah, the last time we saw Edge and Undertaker in the same ring at a WrestleMania was when Edge was helping the Undertaker murder Big Boss Man.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're right. Amazing.
In an interview with a vampire costume.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna start off here and say I thought this match was boring.
Yes. I was going to say the same thing.
Yep.
This match feels just as plain Jane as, like, we just got off that hot Batista match where the crowd was way into it, and you can even feel the change with the audience in this match because I felt like they were pretty quiet through the whole thing until we got to the part where they started doing some close call stuff, because they always react when, well, we're at that point now where if the Taker's being pinned, they react
Yeah.
because they don't want to see the
Yeah.
streak end. Do you
Right.
know what I mean? So that's where I felt like they kind of started coming up. But yeah, man, like they were pretty quiet through the whole thing, which just made the whole thing feel real somber and
Yeah.
just dull. And I felt the same way.
There's a weirdness to wrestling booking when sometimes they just don't do the obvious thing, and the best reason you can think of is that they just knew it was obvious, so they did anything else, even if it sucked. And the one thing in wrestling history that I think really played well into that fact is the streak.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of these matches where, I mean, going back now, obviously we know what was going on and how long it lasted, but I remember going into a lot of these matches going, Edge isn't going to beat him. They're not going to end the streak here.
Yeah.
Except maybe, like I thought that until the pins would start every match, and then as soon as the pins would start, I'm like, they're not going to do it, are they? They ruin everything. Are they going to do it? Are they going to? Oh, they didn't do it yet. Are they going to do it?
They ruin everything.
See, they had that. They for me, they were able to say something. Most of these feuds were able to include one aspect that put that seed of doubt in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
For me, with this one, it was when they started talking about Edge being undefeated.
Yeah.
When they started talking about Edge being undefeated at Mania also, I was like, they might want Edge to lose here and carry a long undisputed streak also. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like stop it here with him and then carry it on through him kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that became like the seed of doubt for me in this match.
Right.
I had thought, I mean, I watched it. I thought it was solid. I kind of had the same idea as you guys in my head. I, again, kind of attributed that to the fact that it was being overshadowed by everything around it.
Yeah.
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 Hearing you guys say the same thing makes me feel a little bit better about the assessment.
Well, I remember feeling that way when I watched it. Like I remember watching it live and being like, all due respect, this is not the best match on this Mania.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys are going on last. They threw like 3 punches, and then they were both selling like it was the end of the match. Barely crawling into covers right away.
Hey, forgive me if I'm mixing this spot up from a different match, but I think it was this Edge one. Is this the one where he did that, like, he like ran and did that big like forearm or a back elbow or whatever in the corner and just shot himself out of the ring somehow?
Oh,
what happened there?
No, that was was that this match or was that the first Michaels match?
I was thinking it was.
I think that was this one.
Yeah.
So that was at the very beginning, right?
Yeah.
Because it looked like he charged for like his big boot in the corner, but he like did that thing where he went over the top rope and landed on the outside,
and then sold like he was dead.
Yes.
For a while. Yeah.
Was that a mistake or
No,
was that?
I think
because it looked bad. It looked.
I think they thought that was like their big cutoff. Like we'll just go ahead. So not speaking as a worker. Watching 2 workers. Right. I feel like Edge thought he was going to get big reactions by keeping the Undertaker in peril the entire time.
Okay.
So I think he wanted a great big cutoff spot, where the Undertaker did something big and took a big bump that looked like it could hurt him and really put him in jeopardy.
Yeah.
I just couldn't figure out the physics of how
he
got out of the ring from that.
I think that was the problem.
And why it would have hurt him so bad to get out of it, because he was on offense.
Right.
And then all of a sudden he was just outside from over the top rope and down.
Yeah.
And I think the whole crowd felt the same way because nobody really reacted to it. Everybody was just kind of like, what is going on? Like, why? And then he just sold like that for the rest of the time.
For the rest of the match.
Yeah, he just sold that. So I was just like, I can't tell if he just really got hurt.
That's what I was like. I was like,
yeah.
did he like legit like strain something right there and have to?
So that kind of leads well into my other thought about this match, because there's a thing in wrestling, and you guys know when you have a match, especially when you have a big match, you come up with like 15 to 20 really cool spots. And maybe by the time you get to the show and talk them out with the guy you're wrestling, maybe 10 of them, 7 to 10 of them make it into the actual match.
Right.
And then you forget a solid 3 to 4 of those.
Right.
So the match is, the 5 to 7 spots that you remember.
Right.
This match, Edge remembered and executed every single spot he came up with. He did not miss a single one.
Oh my god.
That's why this match is the way it is, because he got in every single spot. He thought of every way he could reverse, counter.
Yeah, there were so many reversals.
Turn around, yep.
Yeah, like the tombstone, and they did the tombstone reverse thing, which looked real weird with Edge.
Yeah,
Like it looked like Edge had no chance of ever picking up and hitting a tombstone on the Undertaker. It looked so awkward. And then they did that the last ride one where like he picked him up and then he just slid down his back and hit him with the reverse neck breaker. Neck breaker. Yeah. You're totally right. It was so many reversals for all those spots.
I mean, we see that last ride where they slide off the back at least a few times. Through the rest here.
Yeah.
Like that always just seems like such a precarious position to be in, to be like to have to hoist that guy over your head and for him to have to slip off and keep his footing. Like every time they do that, I'm like, I am so much more impressed than I should be about a guy simply coming off the back of something.
Yeah, man. Well, that's one of those things that like looks super simple, but as a wrestler, you're like, I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah. It's like I don't want to be on either side of that.
Yeah. I love this spot, man. When Taker, when they take out the ref, Jimmy. I think they take out Jimmy Corderas. Mm-hmm. Taker hits the tombstone, and little Nate comes running. Comes running from the back. He deserves a slammy for making that run, man.
This is the one where he big booted the ref,
right? And
it is just the silliest. Like, he comes off the rope and goes for that big boot, and that ref just, like, moseys into the way like he wasn't paying attention. Like, what in the world would you even do that? Like, what the and just gets that big boot. And you're just like, that was just the dopiest looking ref bump. I'm gonna walk this way real quick. Like, no, what?
I gotta tell you, man, none of that registered with me, because so quick we're just into Lil Nate.
Yeah. Oh, dude, he came tearing down there all the way
fast at a dead sprint.
Which that ramp was what, a mile and a half?
It had to be, man. Had to be.
And he was gonna die.
Yeah, and the camera sticks with him the whole way down. I loved it, man. I loved it. That's my favorite part of this match.
They should have had a little water stand set up halfway down the ramp.
They should have.
Yeah. Like in a marathon, you just run by and grab it as you're running.
Oh my gosh, dude. We got interference from the Major Brothers. The edges.
The Major Brothers.
Yep,
Good job.
Zack Ryder.
Well, I was going to say,
Hawkins.
Zack Ryder, that's your boy, right?
Yep. It's my boy Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins. He totally choke slammed Zack onto Kurt from the apron, which was awesome.
Right.
That was such a great bump and everything. I was like, man, that was one of my favorite parts of the match, just because like there was some crazy height on that too. Like you could tell they were like, "Here's my WrestleMania bump." It was awesome.
For sure.
You know, Edge did take a choke slam at one point in this match where I was like, that's probably the prettiest choke slam I've ever seen. And then I watched the next two matches and I'm like, maybe still, I don't know, but like that was a standout to me. Like he just looked like he floated into the air and then just flat backed all the way down.
Yeah.
Edge was a bumper, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So we at the end?
Yeah, this match finishes with the Hell's Gate.
The Hell's Gate for a go? Nobody wanted that.
Nobody wanted that, man.
Nobody wanted
that. And they let him know, man. That had to be the best reaction to an Undertaker win in the entire streak. No question, man.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I was just like, surely
the crowd just
not.
went mild.
Yeah. But Undertaker's the champ again.
Yep.
And that's two WrestleManias in a row that Undertaker won the World Heavyweight Championship. So that's pretty awesome. All right, well, let's go ahead and roll on into the next year with our very first match.
Not much to say about this one, right?
Man.
The Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels.
I mean, I don't know that there is a ton to say about this. This might be the best match of all time.
It's in contention for sure. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
So good. And I even noticed like some small little flubs while I was watching it this time, but it just doesn't matter because these two guys are so professional and so good that they can recover from that stuff and it works.
In a good match, the little flubs like that make it better.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if we're not going to start at the beginning and go through, I'll just jump right to the plancha spot. I am
Oh, boy.
on watching this time, I am not sure that spot isn't what ended up putting this match into the stratosphere it's in, because everything slowed down so much after that, which may have been the plan from the get-go, but like I don't know what, like I mean that did not go off well.
Yeah,
They both took real nasty bumps.
Yeah, like Undertaker basically pile drove himself
Yeah.
from inside the ring to the outside of the ring with a cameraman just waving near him, you know? And the match came to a dead stop for several minutes. And again, maybe that's the whole plan. Maybe the entire rest of the match was already supposed to be super slow, or maybe Taker needed a minute, you know?
So do we? Okay, so we're talking about it. So,
If we want to start early and build back up to it, we can.
Well, I do know there's other stuff I want to talk about from earlier in the match, but since we're here, we'll talk about it. And one, I'm gonna say that they absolutely had that planned. Like that's why that spot was there, was to bring that same the emotion you got from it was the same emotion they were going for. It just worked on you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know they were going for that, and that would have been a slowdown spot, but they weren't going for that nasty of a bump, I'm sure. Like, I think the cameraman was probably supposed to touch him.
Well,
The cameraman is definitely supposed to catch him.
That's
better,
fair.
But
That. Of all the times I've watched that bump, I'm not impressed by it anymore. I don't think he landed bad. I think if you watch, he landed very clean. His head was tucked. I'm sure it's obviously not the bump he meant to take, but he undershot them by 5 feet.
Yeah. Well, I'm not blaming the cameraman for missing anything. Him and Michaels were clearly in the same position. If he was out of position, Michaels would have thrown him at him.
Yeah.
I'm not saying who went wrong with it, but I mean, he did come down hard from way up high.
Yes.
Even with his head tucked, that's going to knock you out for a little while. And there's no doubt that the spot was this happens and everybody's down for a minute. But there's a difference between everybody's down for a minute and everybody's down until Mark's okay.
Yeah.
And then we'll start getting going. So I don't know. I mean, that match ground to a halt for what felt like a solid 5 minutes.
Yes.
I don't know if it was supposed to be 1 minute.
I think
it was really supposed to be 5 minutes.
I think it was supposed to be. I think it was supposed to be 1 or 5 minutes. I think that match was supposed to look exactly the way it looked. Just they put that that bump came off a little nastier. It added to it.
And well, yeah, it did. And that's my point going forward is everything from that point forward. All of the big spots, the near the fall season, all that stuff. Everything seemed to just take a long time. And I didn't know if it was because he was still winded from that or anything along those lines or what it goes. But the emotion just kicked into high gear right about then because everything they did felt huge. And then they sold for a while to make it look bigger. And then they'd get up and do another huge thing and then sell for a while. Well, and there's just like your anticipation is just building the entire... every time they're both selling, you're like, what's going to happen next?
Well, that's the thing right there. And that's like... That is not because Undertaker was winded or dazed from taking that bump. That is because you're watching two masters of this craft do their thing and know exactly what they were doing. And they hit their spots. I mean, the last 15 minutes of that match had 5 spots.
Yeah.
And they worked it so well and they sold so well and they made it matter and the crowd was so invested.
Man.
I've
seen this match before. I saw this match live, when it happened. But I'm sitting on my couch today watching this match, and every one of those falsies, I'm jumping up off my couch. Like I was in it, man.
Yeah.
It's amazing how well they play into that. I think that's exactly what they were doing. They were building up that anticipation. Like even the way they transitioned out of that spot was so awesome because they laid there forever and they sold, but then they got out of it with Shawn going in and waking the ref up and telling the ref to count him out, and they did that real long drawn out count where like Taker was, even at the count of 9, was still falling back down to his butt. And the crowd is literally like, oh no, like not like this.
Shawn's like kneeling in the corner, like yelling at him to like stay out or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, it was amazing. And then when he made that leap into the ring right at the 10 count, that crowd blew the roof off that building like it was the best thing they had ever seen. It was awesome. It was so cool.
So I actually, while I say that this match is, maybe the greatest match of all time, maybe. I also blame it for the way wrestling is now.
Yeah,
I can see that.
I think a lot of young wrestlers, and I really kind of have had this. I had this epiphany before I watched it for this. The way you were just talking, Taker slide in at the last moment, you see that all the time in matches now.
Yeah.
And I think, because I think wrestlers saw that and they were like, oh, that's how we're supposed to do it. Mm-hmm. And they see all these big, the big spots that these guys do, and they're like, oh, these big spots get this crazy reaction. I want to do that. But they don't, they miss the fact that what really makes all those spots matter, and the reason Taker and Shawn got this reaction.
They're mimicking without knowing why.
Yeah, well, they don't pay attention to what's in between,
Right,
and they try to get the bigger reaction by squeezing in more and more of these spots instead of making the huge spots matter, which is what Shawn and Taker were teaching the masterclass on, is do this, because even the spots were seamless. It wasn't one of those things where like you could see them moving into position. They would take this big spot, the big huge bump, there's quick reversal, get into something else, they take the big bump, they go for the pin, they kick out, and then as they are selling up, they would move and sell into perfect position for what they were going to next.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And, so even when you get to the end of that match, it wasn't like, you never saw any of that, which you see so much in younger guys' matches, and even these guys that are amazing athletes with amazing spots and moves that they do, but you can see them move, they'll do a spot, and then it's almost like they stand up and walk over to set up for the next spot, and then they do that spot. They don't work towards it, they don't crawl to it, they don't sell into a position and look like they're just selling, but then all of a sudden, oops, it looks like they're setting up spot. With this match, with Taker and BK.
Nice.
Good recovery.
It just looks like stuff happens.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like they're setting up spot. It just looks like that stuff is happening.
I had a similar observation, but from a different take, and yours bums me out more. But because I was watching it going, man, this is all the stuff I complain about, except done well.
Yeah.
Like all that stuff is good if you do it right, but nobody does it right. But these guys are doing it right, And I never realized that, maybe the reason we do see it so often now is because it was done so well here, and nobody who's doing it understands why. But it's perfect.
Yeah, and there were definitely guys doing it before this. Like this match didn't generate that kind of thing, but I think seeing them go out and do it, definitely pushed like, oh, this is the status quo now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's because the kicking out of finishers. Like that's something that annoys the crap out of me. And they did that a whole bunch of times in these couple of matches. But again, like they made it make sense,
right?
And they made it exciting.
Yep.
Most guys just do 100 finishers now,
right?
And you're like, what? What's the point of doing any?
The other thing to take into account in that response is these are huge matches at the biggest show of the year.
Yes. Right.
Not every single match at every show of the
right.
Yep.
All year.
Absolutely.
Yep. This is not an NXT house show.
Right. Right.
Also, even when Shawn did kick out of the tombstone, he was still dead.
Yeah.
And they still sold.
Yep.
Still totally dead.
Yeah, they pulled forth the energy to not lose for a second.
Yeah.
But they didn't just pop up and, like you said, position themselves for the next thing to do.
Yeah.
That's so good.
It is so good.
I'm going to go watch it now.
I know, right? What were some of the other things you wanted to bring up since we skipped kind of the beginning?
Yeah, we skipped over the beginning.
I love Shawn in the white Undertaker gear.
I hated that.
I love it.
I love that.
Love it.
Okay, so when he did it on a SmackDown and sort of reverse mimicked the Undertaker's entrance.
Yeah.
and cut that whole promo. It's in the video package where it cuts the promo about in the beginning God made light and separated the light and the dark. And, like that was awesome.
Okay. Yeah. And I love that. Like that's why I love that probably.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
So I don't like it in this entrance. One, because like we had already done it.
Yeah.
You know, so like I didn't need to see it again. I didn't feel like it had a place here. Two, they did that thing where he was on that little platform that descended from on high. And I just can't not know that he had to walk out, get in that platform, get raised up. and then they started playing music and lowered him back down. Like I didn't see it, but I can't not know that happened. You know, they didn't lower him from the ceiling onto this platform and then he lowered on the platform.
Right.
They didn't raise the platform and then he appeared on. Like he had to walk out.
I don't know. It's Shawn Michaels, man. Maybe he zip-lined to that platform.
He did not.
Yeah, he zip-lined. Totally.
He did not.
I did like though when he got to the bottom, like they the flares that totally covered him.
Yeah.
And when the flares stopped, he was standing there in his regular gear and his music just kicked right away. That
was
awesome.
cool. That was cool,
awesome.
and the crowd popped for it.
Yeah.
You know, like I'll appreciate what it was.
Yeah.
Wasn't my thing. And I also didn't like because they tried to mimic, you know, Shawn Michaels coming from up high, and then they raised Taker coming up from low. But they shot it bad, so you could see the part where like he stood up.
Oh,
you know what I mean? You can clearly see him, like you can clearly see that the stage was not high enough for him to just stand there and get raised up. He had to duck down, and so you see him straighten up first and then get raised up.
I didn't notice that.
Well, I'm not a Stark Reagan Undertaker mark, so
that's true.
So I'm a little more critical than you.
I didn't notice it either.
I think that was the main thing I wanted. I mean, they started this match just right. You know, like every part of this match just felt right. There was none of the. They you know, it started kind of similar to the way him and Edge started, but just so much better.
Well, I really like the way that Shawn would because his whole strategy was like run in, hit, back away, run in, hit, back away. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah,
like you could tell Shawn had a strategy to go after.
Which is
him.
another and you don't always see that before or after this, but it's another one of those things that adds to the match. Anytime you see two guys sell it like they're in a fight, and they're trying to figure out how to win that fight, that's awesome.
Yep.
Dude, and did he Taker picked Shawn up in that gorilla press like he didn't weigh a thing.
Yep.
He was straight armed and everything, like it was the easiest thing. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my god, like effort, dude.
Yep.
It was awesome.
Yeah, you've never seen Taker really do that, and the one time he does, for sure. Yeah,
they were because Michaels didn't play it as super intimidated at all, and the commentary was like it was very reminiscent of the Batista match when they would talk about the intimidation factor or whatever, and Big Dave was like looking around, and then they would talk about Michaels' intimidation factor, and Michaels was just like, let's go.
Michaels was just ready for this fight. Yeah, I thought that the whole story and everything built for this was awesome.
Yeah.
Like we knew, it felt like something special was going to happen before this match happened.
Yeah.
I remember that feeling.
Yeah.
So, gosh, man, it was so good. I don't even know what else to say about it. You've all probably seen this match. You all know. You
should probably go watch it again.
Just go watch it if you haven't seen it in a while.
It is funny because I've been waiting this entire podcast to watch this match again and talk about this match and all that stuff, and then like you said, like we get to it and we're like, hey, what are we gonna say that's gonna make this better?
I was gonna say that's always the downside of when things are just awesome. Sometimes there's just not a lot to say about it because you just sit there and you enjoy it.
Like, wasn't that great? Yeah.
Cool. I talked about the flubs. The one that really stood out to me was there was that one moment where Shawn went for the super kick and Taker bumped with it without it actually connecting.
Yeah.
And so Shawn kind of did that thing where he looked around real quick and then grabbed his legs like he was going for figure four, and Taker immediately locked the Hell's Gate out of it. So it almost looked like it looked good the way they transitioned out of it, but I just love because Michael Cole was like, got him with a low kick. And I was just like, oh, no, that's not it.
No.
Yeah. They said they played it off as best they could because they just basically they made it look like, or Shawn made it look like he was just going for the next thing. Like if Taker ducked, then Shawn was going to do this instead, and then they do that instead. So I mean, they cover as best as you can cover.
They basically made it look like Taker was dodging the super kick, and so like it worked fine, like I said, but it was noticeable. Like that was the biggest noticeable flub, I think.
I would agree with that, other than the dive.
Oh yeah, the dive.
Yeah, there was a couple times where we saw Shawn kind of not overselling, but like overshooting stuff. Like at one point, Taker goes to throw him in the corner, and Shawn Michaels like is up over the corner, and Taker has to grab him before he falls out of the ring. To keep him in position. And man, I really feel like little stuff like that makes a difference. A wrestling match doesn't need to be. Oh, if you have a flawless wrestling match where everything just flows together and it just it almost looks a little too much like a dance. When you have guys making mistakes and covering those mistakes, you get that sense. Even if you go, oh, they screwed that up. It's still it almost adds to the sense of like, man, these guys are working hard. They're pulling this out. Absolutely. They're fixing it. Whereas when it just looks like a choreograph, when it's just kind of flawless, it's just looks like, oh, they must rehearse that. They rehearsed the whole bunch. I get what you mean. Almost that point.
Absolutely.
Which is probably a good segue into the sequel.
Yeah.
Because that's my big complaint about that match.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. So we got the rematch at the next year. Because Shawn begged for Taker to give him another chance. I remember he kept asking for another match, and Taker's just like, nope.
Well, he came out of the Slammies and got his Slammy for Match of the Year.
Yeah.
And then he was like, he came out and accepted it, and then he was like, I think I could have won. I want Taker again. Yeah. I want him again this year. And Taker's just like, nope.
Nah. Yeah.
Nope.
Not doing it. Nah.
Yep. And so
that's how we ended up with the career versus the streak option. So basically Shawn was like, if I don't beat you, I'll never wrestle again.
Well, Taker forced that.
Yeah.
Because he had attacked him in the Elimination Chamber.
Yeah.
And,
oh, yeah.
Some other stuff. And Taker was still like, nope, not going to do it, until he was like, look, if you want, I'll do it. But you got to put your career on the line. When I beat you, you're out. And so Michaels is like, all right, you got it. So we got the career versus the streak.
Career versus the streak. And this is... the thing that's cool about this, though, with that, is like the whole like presence over this match is it definitely changes the reactions and the feelings from the crowd just a little bit, because man, in that last match, like they loved Shawn and they loved everything they were seeing, but they did not want Taker to lose,
right?
And so like when we were getting at all those false finishes we talked about, like at the end, the crowd was like it intensified every time to when he finally hit that tombstone and won. They were like jumping up and down and like going totally bananas. It was awesome. But now we're in this new position where it's like, well, we want Taker's streak to maintain, but that means we'll never see Shawn again. And you could feel that because the reaction every time was always like, like they're very hesitant with how they want to react.
Well, you almost get the reaction.
The cheers and the boos are all just
Well,
too many emotions.
I mean, they reacted really strongly. But it was almost that feeling of like they didn't want it to end. It wasn't. They had never gone all the way over to wanting Taker to lose. But they didn't. It's like they just wanted to live in that match as long as that match could last.
Because at any point from the time it really became the streak, the investment for the crowd was always in the Undertaker, and now they did the one thing they could do to split that crowd, to really make them think twice. And the crowd didn't know how to not want the Undertaker to win. But like you said, they also didn't know how to want Shawn Michaels to leave. So it's like, what in the world do we do?
So talking about the match itself, and this is going to play into, I think, what you're going to talk about. The trouble here is always following a match like that, because now there's expectations, and how do you top what we already did? Because what we did just worked so well.
Hey, can we swing back? Why before you go much further to WrestleMania 25, the first HBK, because Randy Orton and Triple H had to follow that match.
Oh yeah.
Like that match was pre-main event, I think. So we still had two other dudes that had to go out there and have a match after that. I'd have just quit wrestling.
No
If I was either one of those guys, I'd have just watched that match and been like, "Hey Vince, can we just cancel the main event? I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow on Raw, but I can't do it tonight."
Yeah, really. Well,
like,
they
you got to go out there.
Right.
Well, in that case, I quit.
That's why I never want to watch the match before mine.
Yeah. They learned their lesson, though, because this time they put this on as the main event, even though it was not a title match.
Yep.
So this main evented the show this time.
Yep.
Well, and I would argue, like, not that you guys are arguing that it shouldn't have been or whatever, but, like, this is one of those things where sometimes something just supersedes a title.
Well, absolutely.
And this was either the streak or a career.
Yes.
So, like, I mean, that's main event caliber no matter what, you know?
Yeah.
So, again, not that I'm standing on solid, or, you know, like
yeah. No, I got
standing
you.
in solidarity here or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm not using any of the right words.
That's okay. We'll move.
Yeah, let's move on.
What I want to know is, when you're going to put Shawn Michaels out there for his last match ever, well, theoretically, you know, like, all due respect to Matt Striker, but the best you can do to call this match is Michael Cole and Matt Striker, you know?
Oh, wow.
I mean, like, King was out there, that's great, but what? Come on. Like, what?
This is the best we got. You can't call JR. You can't.
Yeah.
In this match, we got to hear multiple times, "The streak is over. Sean's career is over.
Yeah.
The streak is over. Sean's career is over." Every time there was a pin. Every time. Oh, Michael Cole. I'm realizing that when I have to watch matches like this in succession with lots of Michael Cole, how little I like Michael Cole. Yeah, like I don't know, it's more noticeable for some reason when I have to watch. Maybe it's these big matches that is doing it. Because I don't know, like, it doesn't bother me this bad during Raw, but when I'm watching these matches, it really stands out to me for some reason.
Well, you're watching them with a bit more critical eye.
I guess so, yeah.
You know,
I tune them out a lot, I think.
Well, the other thing is they kind of fall into, wrestling announcers kind of fall into a groove for certain performers.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's different to hear Michael Cole call a Undertaker match, then a Triple H match, then a Stone Cold match, then a John Cena match.
Yeah.
And over the course of 3 hours, rather than listening to Michael Cole call an Undertaker match and then an Undertaker match and then an Undertaker match and then another Undertaker match.
Right. Okay.
Well, and I feel like over the 20 years I've been listening to this guy, he's gotten a billion times better. Maybe I've just gotten a billion times more used to him. But it is like when we go back on the Wayback Machine here and listen to some of the old stuff, I'm like, this is excruciating.
Well, it also doesn't hurt that you've come through, you know, listening to Gorilla and Jesse, and Gorilla and Heenan, and JR and King, and
JBL was in there.
JR and Heyman for one. So, like, you've heard something to compare it to. Also, now the like currently, if you listen to it now, the commentary is just. It's almost white noise, you know, because there's so much, you know, they can call the match, but there's so much they gotta pump in, and they just, you know, they talk nonstop about other stuff.
You're giving me epiphanies here, like as we do, because I've had like the stuff I have been watching recently. Like I have a problem with the commentary, and I haven't been able to put my finger because it's not like a old school Michael Cole that I just can't stand. That's not what it is.
Right.
There's no person necessary, or you know. Maybe one or two, but like I don't identify every commentator and go, well, they're bad because of this and they're bad because of that, and this person annoys me. It's never that. It's just like as it's happening, I don't enjoy it.
Right.
Yeah.
And now I'm starting to really put that into frame because you're right, because they're never really they're
talking about anything. Yeah,
exactly. They're just commercialing what's coming around the corner.
It bleeds through. Yeah, it bleeds so quickly from. This happened in a match to remember what happened last week now this is going to happen next week to remember what happened at the top of the show to we're sponsored by to this Make-A-Wish thing. Like it's all just a non-stop feed for 3 hours.
Yep.
Man, that is fact.
Yeah.
That is fact.
But getting back to this phenomenal match.
All right, this match.
So we get through the match. Back into what you were saying about it being a sequel.
Well, I think I think that's pretty much the point I wanted to make. Like, the perfect setup for this is how in the world do they follow what they already did? Because they really set like a lot of standards that people are expecting now. Plus, they already did it felt like they did everything in that match. Yeah. How do you even just do the same match again and not repeat it? Yep. And I think that's going to play into what you were getting ready to talk about with it feeling a little bit more like a dance this time around.
Yes. So I think they did kind of show us how much they didn't do, you know? Because the match at 25 felt like they did everything, and they really did very little.
Right, yeah.
You know, this match, they did a lot more, and I think it felt like they did a lot more. This match, they were both on fire. I mean, they were both on point. This was a career-defining performance by both these guys. I don't want to undersell that. But it just doesn't have the same feeling.
It does not have the same feeling.
It does not.
Well, like you said, they packed a lot more into it in like 15 less minutes.
Yes.
I think it's way shorter than
I don't think it was. I think they're both this. I think this match was longer.
No.
You know, yeah, because I pulled up the
At
times.
most bell to bell, because that last match was like 40 minutes. That might have been with entrances.
Dude, this match was a solid hour with entrance.
This match was 25 with the match. Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe if the entrances were super long, but
I'm about to tell you.
Yeah. Bell to bell, this one was like 25.
Okay, you're right. Yep. So this one was 23:59. And the 25 one was 30. I thought that was reversed.
Okay.
So you are right.
Yeah. So this one was shorter. I felt the same way. I definitely felt like it didn't have the same feeling or the same excitement as the first one. And I was wondering if it was just because I had just watched the other one and it was because I was watching them back to back and that makes it stand out a little bit more. But like you said, not to take away from this, because this is still a great match. Mm-hmm. And they're still, like, their performances are still fantastic here, but it was absolutely lacking the excitement of the first. But that happens a lot, right? Like the sequel's never as good as the first.
Yeah.
Typically speaking, it's hard to recapture the magic of the first one. Of anything.
Except that wrestling is the one spot where that's usually not the case.
Okay.
Your matches build. You know, it's very rare that you have a wrestling feud that starts with the best match.
Well, that's true.
And decreases. You know, and a lot of times when you're building. You know, now I will give him this. You know, I'm sure they didn't say, "Well, we're going to do this at 25 and then do it again at 26."
Right.
I'm sure they did it. Yeah, they did it at 25 and they were like, "That was awesome. Let's do it again."
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but generally when you're talking, when you have a wrestling feud, it builds. So every match is a little better, a little bigger, a little more intense, or a little bigger stakes. And this is one of those rare times where it just doesn't, like, they did that. I maintain that this match, even though it wasn't as long, it had a little more in it. You know, the stakes were obviously a little higher. The match was more flawlessly performed. It just didn't have that feeling. And part of that, I think we all knew that it was HBK's going away party.
Yeah. That was definitely floating over the match.
You know, like, so you just know. So there's almost a little bit of, I'm just going to sit back and watch HBK one last time.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
And like,
absolutely.
This was 2 years withdrawn from HBK being on the other side of this with Ric Flair.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah,
so
that's true.
Like, it had a very similar feel to that match as far as that level goes, because you did, like, you're pretty sure this is the end of a career here.
Yeah.
You know, and so you're just watching them go out in style.
Yep.
You know?
Notable spots.
Mm-hmm.
That straight back, straight dive moonsault from the top of the rope to the announce table.
The one I wanted to bring up too. Oh my goodness! Yeah. I know, man.
I've seen Shawn Michaels throw easily 1,000 moonsaults in his career. That one.
I saw Shawn Michaels on a Raw 2 weeks ago 12 or 11 years after this match, and still in the middle of rewatching this match, I went, he's going to die.
Yeah.
He's not going to make it.
It is scary. Dude, he hits that, though, and then he pops up and almost looks like he's excited to be alive, right?
Yeah.
Like, because he jumps up and, like, does the fist, and he's, like, so excited. Like I
then falls
did
over.
it. Yeah, and then he falls over and sells. It's amazing.
Yeah, man.
Well, like, I vaguely remember that spot as it was happening, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is where you're going to do one of those big elbows, I think. And then he climbed up there and turned around or whatever. I'm like, what?
Don't do it.
Don't! No,
That's
Shawn,
a bad
no!
idea.
Well, and we've seen Shawn plenty of times where he starts set for a moonsault, but instead of going straight backwards, he turns and almost does like a high cross body from that position. And I remember vividly the first time I watched this, watching him do that and be like, oh my gosh. Like, I knew he wasn't at that point, but like, man, just watching that from the ring through the, blind, just straight back.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I know, right?
No, thank you.
Yeah. Scary, but awesome.
Yeah, amazing.
Man, so good when he did it. Yeah, that was good stuff. We also saw, this is the one where we saw Undertaker hit Shawn's elbow drop off the top rope too, right? Yes. Which was kind of crazy. This was I think what I was thinking about earlier too, because that's definitely not something you see Taker ever do very often at all.
He didn't hit it though, did he?
No, he went for it.
Yeah, he missed it.
He missed it.
Yeah, he like flat back.
I meant,
from the top rope.
I meant that he went. Yeah, so he actually went up and attempted.
Well, when you said hit, I was like, did he do a second one that I forgot about or something?
No,
because I remember like he just jumps in the air and just flat back bumps.
Yeah. He attempted Shawn's elbow off the top rope, which was just one of those things that's like, oh my god, Undertaker diving off the top rope. That we don't ever see that kind of a thing.
We've never seen that before.
We've never seen it before. Yeah, Michael Cole freaks out.
Yeah. Tombstone on the outside at ringside.
Oh my god, yes.
That one notable more so, I think, because the crowd reacted so big for that.
So big,
because
the rules they made sure to say that in this match, like, there's no getting disqualified. Right. There's no getting counted out.
Pinfall or submission.
Yeah. So like they were allowed to go outside of the ring and do stuff like that. So yeah, that moment happened. Well, I love it too because like that was. Shawn was trying to escape from him and got himself wrapped into that position for the tombstone. And, like, you could hear the crowd, like, get super excited when they realized that, he had just squirmed himself right into a tombstone position.
Yep.
And they're, like, yelling at Taker. They're like, do it right here. And then he does.
I don't think anybody thought it was going to happen.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I loved how they sold the match like that, though, too, because they pointed out a ton of times it's got to be pinfall or submission. But they never really, that I noticed, called it a no DQ or anything like that, and they didn't play it like, they didn't just start pulling out kendo sticks or anything like that, which I did not want.
Yeah,
right.
So it's like it's one of those things where they had to sort of walk that line of like making it. Basically, there was nothing in the rules that said they couldn't just turn it into a hardcore match, which 95% of the time is what happens when that's the rules.
Right.
But they just avoided all that, and even when they were selling it on the commentary, they weren't calling it no DQ.
Right.
They were telling you the aspects of the no DQ rules that they wanted. You know.
Yeah.
So I was super happy they played it like that though, because it also added that air of like definitiveness.
Right.
Because it's like, well, we're not going to get cheated out of the end either. We can't be. Something has to happen.
Yes.
One of these things is ending.
Yep.
They also did that good thing too where whenever they did something big on the outside of the ring, it mattered. It was a big deal. Like, that tombstone to Shawn on the outside put him out of commission for a while, long enough to where like doctors came out to check on him, and then Taker just like shoved all those doctors out of the way and threw Shawn into the ring to try to pin him. And and the same thing when Taker went through the table, like that was a big deal. Yep. So like that's another one of those things too that like really sets these guys apart from everybody else a lot of the times when it comes to like doing crazy moves on the outside or using weapons and stuff. Like if you're gonna do something, make it matter, because it's so much more impactful to the whole match. You know what I mean?
Well, so drop a little of my wrestling opinion here. That's the difference between. There's a difference between making it all matter and making it all fit together.
Yeah.
And Taker and Shawn make it all fit together, and because I think you can say, "Oh, make everything matter" to some of the younger guys and the high spot artists. And they go, well, I make it all matter. We go for a pin, and they don't think about, they think about each spot and how to make each spot matter without thinking how does it matter to the match?
Right. Like the overall story.
Yes.
How does that matter?
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's what we really see here is just how these guys put everything together, and it all builds the match and builds the story.
Yeah.
Throughout.
Absolutely. Man, these two just pros.
Yeah.
Seriously, these are like two of my all-time favorites right here too. I mean, Shawn and Taker are high on my list.
Yeah.
Always have been.
So they are not on mine.
They're on mine.
Like as a fan, I've never been a huge fan of either of these guys.
Yeah.
As a worker, I don't know that there's any two that have done it better, more consistently. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
More like I don't think there's any two that have done it as good. Period.
Yeah.
You know,
well,
period.
Like,
and especially when they get together, you know, I mean, and this is not like we kind of treat these like these matches kind of overshadow so much. We forget that they did like the Hell in the Cell.
Hell in the Cell, man.
You know,
yeah.
they put that on the map because they were great together. They had a series of really good matches around that Hell in the Cell because they're just great at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, it's kind of a side note to the match itself by any means, but like the way that Michaels, I think everybody considers this the end of his career. I mean, he's done some stuff since then, but
He's still only done the one match since then, which
has
is
it only been one?
Which was the awful Saudi Arabia match.
I was thinking he had done
Might as
some
well
like tag stuff or something like that.
I don't think he'd done
not like a run, like an appearance. You know?
Yeah, I mean he's shown up a time or two. He's not had a match. He'll ref the Hell in the Cell that's coming up next show.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he is not.
Yeah, in 2 WrestleManias.
Yeah.
But he's not wrestled until this year.
Mm-hmm. But even you know, I said not taking that stuff into account. You know, you consider this the end of his career, and it's so weird to look back. How many years before this? Like we all thought Shawn Michaels' career was done years before.
Yeah, he's
this,
another guy.
know?
Yeah.
Like he was young and hot, and everything was working for him, and then injuries and time away and whatever other stuff he was going through. And there was always that, is he ever going to come back? Sometimes you hear rumors come back, and then he wouldn't ever come back. And even if he does come back, he's not going to be the same.
Yeah.
And then just comes back. And even when he came back, I remember thinking at least like, oh, this will be a fun few months or whatever. And then there's this years-spanning career renaissance where this stuff is better than it ever was.
Yeah.
And then it ends up with this, And like I said, it's just so weird to me to watch this just wonderful couple of matches here, and to think back, like there's a real easy chance a world away from here, however many years before, that we never even think of these as being a thing, and now all of a sudden this is how it's ending the way it should end someday. Yeah. It's nice.
Yep.
So, was there any other spots in there that you wanted to talk about specifically?
Nope. We can go to the end.
Okay, I want to go to the go home.
Okay, I was going to say, I really like the end.
Well, I want to make sure I'm not mixing up the two, and I hate that. This what happens when you watch two Shawn's matches back to back. So was this the one where the tombstone happened because he tried to skin the cat?
No.
Was that the first one?
That was the first one.
That was the first match.
Well, no, actually that happened in the first match. The finish of the first match was he climbed up to the top, went for a moonsault off the top. Taker caught him and dropped him.
Yeah.
That was the end of the match.
It was
25.
Towards the end was the skin the cat.
Skin the cat.
Did it again. The skin the cat thing. But that was the first match.
That was the first match. Okay, well, I meant to bring that up then because I loved that.
Okay.
Because he did the skin the cat thing where he grabbed Taker with his legs like he was going to run him out of the ring, and Taker just dragged him in the ring, and I loved how Shawn just fought the whole way.
Yeah.
Like even as he's giving him the tombstone, Shawn's still trying to get out of it, and I just thought that was amazing. Shawn's awesome. Okay, anyway, so
the go home to this.
The go home to this
was tombstone.
Yep.
Shawn kicks out.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Taker stands over him, takes off his straps, slices the throat, goes to slice the throat, and then stops because Shawn Michaels is already starting to get back up again.
Yeah.
Yep. And he's yelling at him, "Stay down."
Yeah, he's yelling at him, "Stay down," and Shawn Michaels does the long, slow crawl up Taker's body. Gets to his knees, a little past his knees, looks Taker in the eye, slices his own throat.
Oh, that's so good.
Right?
So good.
Then slaps the taste out of the Undertaker's mouth.
Yeah.
And then takes, best tombstone of all time.
Jumping
Probably.
tombstone.
Yeah.
I like
man.
to believe that's the second hardest slap I've ever seen in a wrestling
Oh
match.
my gosh, dude.
after
After the one you gave me.
Dude, the way he just
it
like
was a slap, man.
Taker just like snatched him. It's like he got slapped, turns
Yeah.
around, gives him that look, snatches him up so fast, and then jumps for that tombstone. It was nasty.
Greatest tombstone
so
of all time.
good, but it was just the perfect way to end the match. It was awesome.
It was the perfect way to end Shawn's career,
Yes.
man.
Yeah.
Like that. I don't know if he came up with that. Whoever came up with that, there could not be a better way for Shawn Michaels to have
Nope.
ended his career.
Totally.
Like that's it. I'm
again, it
I'm
was-
gonna stand up. I'm gonna do what you do better than you, and then I'm slap you in the face, and then you can you can snake me.
Yeah.
I was a huge fan of that setup in the Ric Flair match when he got that corner spot and he just waited for Rick to get up and he gave him the I'm sorry, I love you, and brought him down that way, and then again 2 years later and it's for himself,
Yeah.
and he still got just a beautiful ending.
Yep.
Yeah,
You know?
it's awesome. So good.
So good.
It was a really good run of matches, honestly.
This,
I mean,
this
like
was
the,
amazing. This
Edge
run
Edge was definitely the low point in this, but it was a great build up to what we were going into with the two Shawn matches here.
Yeah, and this run is why the streak became a thing.
Oh, I would agree with that,
You know,
absolutely. And even like with that Batista match, I feel like that's the first match that they were really making the biggest deal about the streak.
True.
And so like this really did make the streak
Yes.
feel important. This run of matches right here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were so good. Had the Shawn Michaels match, had the first Shawn Michaels match not landed, I don't think the streak, would be what we remember it as.
Yeah.
I certainly had that first Shawn Michaels match not landed. I don't think I'd have suggested, hey, we should do a mini series podcast on the streak.
This show exists for this match.
And funny to think, if that first Shawn Michaels match hadn't landed, Shawn Michaels might still be wrestling today.
Whoa. This career never would have ended. He would have never had to put it on the line.
right.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, recommended watching, of
Yeah,
course.
This
Go
whole
back
year.
and watch
and
these.
even Edge's match, there's it's not bad. It's just it drags, it's slow, and in the middle of these matches,
Yeah, it just fails
in
yeah.
comparison.
It's still way better than like the Giant Gonzalez.
I was gonna say we've still definitely come a long way
Yeah.
since the King Kong Bundy one for sure. Oh my goodness!
or even Mark Henry, the casket match.
Yeah.
It's still better than that match.
Yeah, absolutely, awesome. Well, on the next show, it's our
Our
final episode,
season
finale of the Streak Easy, because these will be the last 4 matches of the streak.
Yep.
So that takes us to
Triple H at WrestleMania 27.
Mm-hmm.
Triple H inside the Hell in a Cell.
whoa.
At WrestleMania 29.
What's
Shawn
gonna
Michaels,
happen?
A special guest referee.
WrestleMania 30 against CM Punk. And then WrestleMania 31.
Brock Lesnar, the one in 21-1.
Yeah.
All right, well, get to watching those matches.
Yep.
Gear up, guys, because we're going to be talking about them. It's the last one, and then we'll be rolling right into WrestleMania. See what happens this year with the Undertaker. I don't know. We have no idea.
I have no idea.
No idea if anything's happening with him or not.
I
We'll see.
have a feeling nothing.
You think so? I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
At this
Yeah.
point,
Yep.
I think I'd be fine with that.
Yeah. I mean, he's been making some, I don't know if we need to talk about this here, but he's been making some appearances out of character now.
Yeah.
And he has never done that before.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know. I feel like he's rapped or
yep.
is rapping right
Yep.
now. Yep, for sure.
He's rapping now?
Yeah. Oh, like Macho.
Yeah.
Be a man, Hogan.
Be a man, Sean.
Be a man, Sean. No, you're just gonna rap on Hogan.
Be a man. Be a man.
I guess this is what people do.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening. As always, if you enjoy the show, please give us a subscription or a rating or a follow or whatever you want to do. However you enjoy the show. We're available on YouTube, so hit that subscribe button.
We like you guys, so you might as well like us.
That's right. That's right. And the audio version is on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, Google Play, all of your audio streaming services. So give us a rating, give us some feedback, and stay tuned because more of the Streak Easy is on the way.
Bong.
The Geek Easy Podcast is a production of PixelDan.com. Musical tracks used in the intro and outro are used with full permission of the respective owners or creators. Intro and outro narrations are provided by me, Brian T. Stevenson. PixelDan.com's The Geek Easy Podcast is provided for entertainment purposes only. The views expressed are those solely of the hosts or guests and do not necessarily represent those of PixelDan.com or any other party. Be sure to join us next time for another installment of the Geek Easy Podcast.